Something a little different today, and we're delving into the world of the USL with Dan Rutstein. Did I get that right?
You've got it close enough.
Perfect. Of Orange County Soccer Club, who are doing some amazing things. Dan, how are you?
Oh, great. Thanks for having me on, Tom.
Absolute pleasure. Now, this is a real labour of love for me, because I think we'll talk about how this came about in a minute. But introduce yourself and tell people who you are.
So I'm Dan. I am the president of business relations at Orange County Soccer Club, which not everyone may have heard of, but we play in the second tier of soccer, or it's like football, I think I can say, in America. So you've got the MLS, then you've got our league, the USL. We were the 2021 champions. We've unfortunately just been knocked out of this year's playoffs, and we are a family community club who also have a remarkable ability to sell players to European teams, which is very un-American. And so, we see ourselves as an international team playing in an American league. And I'm excited to talk to you, Tom, because you are now an owner of my club. So I feel almost obliged to come on your show.
Yes, that is how this came about. It was a fundraiser that I saw through a sort of a crowdfunding site that I have interest in, and have bought shares, as we were just discussing, in Wimbledon Football Club previously through the same route. And when this came up, it really captured my attention, because it really brought together a lot of my different interests. And Orange County SC, as a club I had heard of in passing, as you do with USL. A lot of these clubs have high profiles and do really good things, in the community and in the wider world, or have outlandish kits and that sort of stuff. So you do hear about these things from time to time. But the more I looked into this, the more fascinating I found it. And so that's how I reached out to you, Dan. So how did the crowdfund come about?
So I'm a Wimbledon fan for my sins, and I've been a fan of Wimbledon for a long time. So we were a first division team, and then obviously a Premier League team, and then after they took our club away from us, we played in the Southeast Combination League, which is the 13th level of football in England. And a few years ago, we were moving back to Plough Lane, our sort of spiritual home, and there was a crowd-based fundraise, and they raised a few million to move back. And I was one of the people who put some money in. There's a brick in the wall at Plough Lane with my name on it. And anyone who knows me knows I'm an owner of Wimbledon. It's one of those things that we just, when you just talk about it. It's like, it's like a vegan, because they tell you. So it's something that's always, it's always been part of my sort of interaction with football. And then, wind forward a few years, and I happen to be now running a team. We were very interested in doing a version of this, not because there was some crisis like Wimbledon had, but I wanted to give fans a chance to have that different relationship with the team. And our club, it's a growing team. We play in front of, we've sold out the last 7 games in front of about 5,000 people. So it's in the big football world, it's not the biggest club in the world, but it's a real community club. And we just signed we nearly lost our stadium last year in a battle with an MLS team. And then we just signed a new 10-year deal, which sort of secures the future of the club, which meant the conditions were right to do the thing that I've been trying to do for a couple of years, which is we've put up 5% of the club for fans to own. And I think for me, some of it is our core fans, to give them what I've had, the chance to have a closer relationship. But actually a big part of it for me is actually, and you're almost a perfect example, is to give people who aren't necessarily going to come and watch a game at Championship Soccer Stadium, but give them a chance to go down the pub and say, I own a bit of a team. And we launched this recently. Within a week, we got up to a few hundred owners. And some of them have come in at the minimum, $100, and they are literally doing it so they can tell their friends that they own a bit of a team. And then some people have come in at 5, 10, 25,000, and obviously they're doing it for genuine investment reasons, because this isn't like the Green Bay Packers model where you have a share but it's meaningless. If the club gets sold later or there's a future funding round, there's potential money back here. So it's sort of a bit of everything, but for me it's about building that fan base and giving people a chance to participate in the growth of what I think is a very interesting club.
Absolutely, and the more I've looked into it, the more I would absolutely agree. It's got a real soul. This club, it's got really passionate fans, and there's a fan podcast already for it. This is a really decent level opportunity that people are getting into, and but far be it from me to be recommending an investment, and I wouldn't. This certainly is not doing that. But I got into this. Anyone who is watching can do this through Republic, as long as it's still open at the time, and I will try and get this video out as soon as possible. So if you type in Republic and Orange County, you're going to find it on there. So I did it because it's right up my alley to do that sort of thing. But you also get you get the scarf and the pin badge and the certificate and that sort of stuff, and I feel really invested then. And then suddenly I've got a USL team. I never had a USL team. Suddenly I've got one, and that's the one. And I'm the person that's sort of mad enough to go out and do a trip just to watch them, just because that's my team now. And I think a lot of people will do that.
Yeah, I mean, the way football's going, obviously, you've got the very, very big teams, and you've got passionate fans of those teams who may have never seen them play and only started supporting them because they just won the Champions League or whatever it is. And you see that a lot in America. Who do you support? Real Madrid, Man City? Of course you do. And there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, that's not really what it's been about. And I think my journey in football, Wimbledon were not very good. That was sort of part of the enjoyment of supporting them. We were. I think we at this club I currently run have had, I think, 15 crowds larger in stadium than Wimbledon had at the Premier League. Like the record for the lowest Premier League crowds are Wimbledon, Everton, and Wimbledon, Luton. Wow. And they're less than 5,000. So we've had more people in our little stadium in Orange County, California, than watch Wimbledon play in the Premier League. So I think it is incredible. And I think for me, that sort of sums up where, what we're trying to be. And the sort of football I've grown up in, I used to referee non-league. I like small grounds. I like sort of having interactions. I like the community feel you get. At the end of our season, the fans will come on the field and get the players sit on the field for, it was over an hour while all the fans came past to get things signed at the end of the game. You don't get that at Premier League teams. That's just not how it works, and it can't work. But a community club like ours, there are fans who have been coached by the players. There are fans who are followed by the players on Instagram. That sort of stuff. It just changes your relationship, and I think this ownership thing is a great way of doing it. So you get a certificate, you can tell people you're an owner, but for $1,000, which we're making a shirt. When everyone who puts in 1,000 will have their name on the shirt, so the players will play. We're either going to do it for a pre-season or maybe the home opener next year. The players will literally have the names of the supporters, and I think there's nearly 100 people already who've put $1,000 in who are going to have their name on a shirt. And this isn't the shirt on the back; this is their name, like inside the shirt the players are wearing.
Incredible,
That's like my brick in the wall at Plough Lane.
Yeah,
it puts you in a different relationship. And I would love nothing more than at the end of this process, when we've probably got in the low thousands of new owners, people like you who, at the moment aren't coming to games, saying to their mates, have you heard of Orange County? People start following us on social media. They buy our kits. And then, as you say, one day you come out to a game, and if you do, you let me know, and we'll have you on the field taking penalties with our mascot at half time.
That would make a good video. Yeah, thanks, Dan.
Make a great video.
That is an absolute dream for me. But people will do that. I think you had an owners sort of march around the field for one of the games recently.
Yeah, so we got to the playoffs this year, and so for the first playoff game, we did a pre-game owners parade, and there was probably 150 people on the field before the game, which was great. And then the second playoff game, we did a pre-game owners toast, where we got everyone together for a champagne toast on the balcony, which was lovely. And we're working on what next year looks like. There'll probably be a owners only pre-season game or something going on, but we'll look to do something at every game so that there is something special for. We can't forget about our season ticket holders, obviously, as well. But a lot of them have become owners. But I think we're just trying to make people feel special. There'll be special communication, and in the next few weeks we're launching in the UK as well. So we started this round in America, but we're actually launching in the UK on the Cedars platform, which I imagine you already have an account for, Tom, because you're an owner of AFC Wimbledon. And this is why we're using Cedars, because of my Wimbledon link and their parent company, Republic. And, you know, we've talked about, if we get a decent number of people in the UK as owners, we might look at, you know, doing an event where we'll do an event for the UK based fans. Maybe do a special shirt just for them. You know, we want people to be engaged in our club, and it's in the modern world of, you know, the internet. You can watch these games, you can follow this club, you can form a relationship, and we want to be the community club for the people of the world.
Fantastic. I love that ethos. It's a really, really beautiful thing. And it does, I see it in this country, as you will know already, you know, very, very well. Football brings communities together. It's the linchpin of certain communities. And you see the ones that have been allowed to disappear in recent times. It's you know, it takes something out of the community. It destroys a lot of the parts of the community, because some of the people go in there, it's their social activity. That's what they do. It gets them out of the house. And if they don't have that, they don't have that support network, if you like. And even somebody who's like me, who's, you know, busy life with a family and that sort of stuff, and doesn't necessarily need that social connection, still seeks it out, because it's so powerful and it's so fulfilling to be part of something bigger. It's really, really, you know, wonderful feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think sport over here is different as well. I mean, it maybe have changed a little bit, but, you know, for me, you know, the way football is watched in England still is, you know, you sort of go to the pub at lunchtime, you walk in the ground at 2 minutes to 3, you watch the game, you may or may not queue up for your pie at half time, and then you sort of leave straight away. And that's, I'm sure it's changed a little bit, but that's sort of how football's done. In America, it's a whole different, you know, it's a whole different ball game. So people are turning up early. We do a beer fest where 1,000 people come for an all-you-can-drink beer fest with 50 different beers that kicks off like 3 hours before the game starts. For the kids, our mascot has a birthday party where all the mascots from the Anaheim Ducks and the LA Chargers and the Rams and the Kings, and they all come down and they have a little party, and there's activities for all the kids. There's a lot of that sort of stuff. You know, we give away bobbleheads and all that stuff that you have to do in America, because nobody's coming to a game just to watch the sport. That's just not how it works. Yeah. So you have to do more. So we do more, and it really is family friendly. There'll be people who come and watch the game and are rabid fans, and that's wonderful. But there'll be families who come and their kids just go and use the inflatables, and may not even know there's a game going on. The beer fest may have not even realised there was a football match next to the beer party they were going to, although eventually, hopefully, they start supporting the club. But it's just a completely different concept over here, and so it really is a community thing. You see people coming to games, and yes, they're here for the football, but they're also here for the other things, and they are all available in the stadium for families.
That's fantastic. So, getting into the club a bit more, you mentioned the international links that the club's got, and the how it's sold players to international clubs, which is European clubs, which is a really impressive feat. So, just talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's a very different fundamental model. So, obviously, in Europe and in fact, rest of the world, you know, there's plenty of clubs who use transfer fees. You know, there's well-known selling clubs, including successful ones like sort of Southampton and Brighton, who are sort of selling clubs, but also playing at the top level. In America, in the other sports, when an NBA player is moving teams, there's no transfer fee. You know, it's draft picks and player trades, and that's sort of how it works. And so no one's really doing transfers of players. That wasn't really the model from America. And our owner and our technical director realized there was an opportunity here. So we've set ourselves up and we develop young players. And in America, normally people want to go to college. That's sort of the dream, get a scholarship. We're taking in players and saying to them, look, play for us, and then we will sell you to European teams. And we've now sold 6 players to European teams, which is more than any club in North America, including MLS teams.
Wow.
And so, you know, a lad went to Wolfsburg, a lad went to Rangers. We've sold to Stade de Reims in France. The guy's gone to Sweden. We've just sold somebody to Nordsjælland. in Denmark, and one of our players went to Feyenoord this year. So these are real, these are real teams taking real players, and it's become a recruitment tool. So the guy we sold to Feyenoord, named Corrado, so he was the US under-19 captain, but he came here specifically to be transferred. So he came to us and basically said, we did the deal, and we basically said, you play for us for a year. You get to play not in an academy against other young people. You play against, real men in a real league. You do well for us, and we'll get you a transfer. And he played for us. He scored a handful of goals, in front of crowds of 5,000 to 10,000. And then Feyenoord took him on a good deal. And we're recruiting new 16 and 17-year-olds on that basis. We've got a lad who's at the under-17 World Cup is in Indonesia over the next month or so. And we've got a lad playing over there who is unbelievable. His name's Bryce Jameson. And, the under-17 World Cup is like a feeding frenzy for international scouts. So let's see what happens, but I'd be amazed if he doesn't get snaffled up by somebody at some point. So it's a deliberate model. And the way we set it up is we don't just want to be a development team. We want to compete. So I think what sums it up for us is in the 2021 season, at centre-back, we had Michael Orozco, who's played 29 times for the US national team. And next to him was a 17-year-old called Kobe Henry, who captained the US under-18 team. And Kobe Henry then got transferred to France for, at a time, a record transfer at the end of that year. But we won the trophy that year. We won the USL Championship. So, older experienced players with younger players winning real trophies, competing, being a playoff team, and yet still doing the transfer model. So it's a very different concept. It's, we're selling players and other teams in our league are just selling hot dogs.
That's a great line. Fantastic, man. It's a really very, very big name to Rangers and Feyenoord there. I mean, that's absolutely fantastic. So do you have alliances with these teams specifically, or is it just whoever's looking?
So with those teams, actually, we did set up an alliance. So we set up something with Rangers. It was pre-pandemic, and it was a fully two-way model. So they took our best player, who was our goalkeeper, who again had played for the national youth team in goal. He went over to Rangers, but we had a couple of their younger players come out on loan to us. Now, the pandemic made obviously international movement very tricky, and then Rangers went and won the championship for the first time since they came back up from the lower divisions. And so we haven't done it since then, but we still have a relationship, and we have co-branded merchandise with Rangers, and for historical reasons we shouldn't go into, but Rangers fans love the colour orange, so they love the Orange County. So there's a nice relationship there. And then with Feyenoord, we have a similar thing. They took some of our players for pre-season trials. They obviously signed one of our players, but we have a model where if they want to recruit players internationally, they can effectively park them with us first, and then they can oversee their development. And if they like them, then they can take them back to Holland. And if they don't, then they don't, without having to bring them all the way across. So with those two teams, we have partnerships, and then we have sort of unofficial relationships with other people. Hamburg came and played us. Kevin Keegan's old team came and played us in a friendly last year. And we will sell players to whoever wants them. So we did a nice thing with Nordsjælland, who obviously a Danish team, and their former coach is currently our coach. So we had a relationship there, and he recommended a player. They looked at him and they took him. So it's a really interesting model. And our fans sometimes get upset when we sell players. When we won the championship in 21, one of our fans got a massive tattoo of our striker Ronaldo on his leg, who we then sold a month later to a Swedish team. But that's the story of football throughout the world, as you know.
Absolutely, there's got to be one of those in every club. Someone who's got the tattoo right before the players got sold.
Yeah.
So going back to yourself then, Dan. how did you end up in this position as a president of business operations in Orange County, having been a Wimbledon fan from presumably South London?
Yeah, so born in Epsom, grew up at Sutton. Used to go and watch Sutton United when they were the non-league club. Unfortunately, they're now at the same level as Wimbledon because we're both in League Two. So yeah, I've had, I guess you would call it a non-linear career. So I was a journalist for my first outing. So I was a news reporter and then a sports reporter covering rugby league for a paper in Bradford. Then I went out and worked at, I think I was deputy sports editor of a newspaper in Bermuda, which was great fun. I used to ghostwrite. You'll remember, I think you're old enough. You remember Sean Gota?
Yes, absolutely. Feed the Goat was the.
I used to have a column called Read the Goat, and I used to ghostwrite Sean Gota's column in Bermuda. I think he was past his Man City days. He was at Reading and Southend by the time I got out there. But still,
fantastic.
Then I left journalism and joined the British government. I ended up working as a diplomat, and I was posted to various places, including Germany, where my favourite part of the job was anytime a British team played a German team in the Champions or Europa League, we always sent a representative. So I must have watched probably 8 games a year from the corporate boxes sitting next to the chairman of Chelsea and Arsenal and Man United. It was a very good. For someone who loves sport, it was amazing. Yeah. I had a lot more to the job than just that, but this is a football podcast, so that's the bit I'll mention. Then I got posted to Los Angeles, so I ran the commercial section for the Foreign Office over in the west side of America. Although again, when there was a game between English teams and American teams, so as a Leeds fan, you'll appreciate this. So where are we? It was at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, and it was Liverpool against Chelsea, which they played in one of these summer tournaments.
Yeah,
and I was in the box with the then Trade Minister Liam Fox, the former defence, and Vinnie Jones, the former Leeds player. Because in LA you get Hollywood meets politicians. So I was looking after the minister, and for reasons I can't remember why we were in the same box as Vinny, but we were in the box with Vinnie Jones.
You must have not been along with him then.
It was great. And then I left government and I decided to stay in America, because why wouldn't you want to live in Los Angeles? I ran a tech company until the pandemic destroyed it, basically. And then I host some podcasts, and I have a whiskey podcast, and a friend of mine put me in touch with the owner of Orange County Soccer Club, who liked whiskey. So he came on my show, I interviewed him, and by the end of the evening we'd drunk a lot of whiskey, and he said, why don't you come and work for my team? So I went, did a couple of years of consulting with them, and then the president left and they asked me to take over. So I sort of got here the long way round, but obviously running a football team is absolutely a dream job, and it's even beyond the dream job. I think if you told sort of 15-year-old me growing up in South London that there even is a job running a football team, I just wouldn't know how to get there. But I've got here sort of by accident, and it's all the things you'd hope. It's running a football team, and we're big enough that we're real. The games are all nationally televised. We're playing in front of thousands of people. All our players are fully professional, but also small enough that we can do some of the things that I want to be able to do in terms of engaging with fans and really making it feel like the sort of community club that I was lucky enough to grow up in. Being a Wimbledon fan, sitting in the family enclosure for £35 for a season ticket for the year. I want the feel of that over here, and we try and be that community club with now hundreds and soon to be thousands of new owners.
Absolutely fantastic. I look forward to your book coming out, because that is quite a story you've got to tell there. That's fantastic. You mentioned the national TV coverage, and obviously that has very recently had a big tick up for USL, hasn't it, with the CBS deal?
Yeah, so we've had all games on ESPN Plus for as long as I've been with the team, and it's great because it's it's real TV covering the games. Yeah, they announced recently the new deal on CBS, and I think being on national network TV, if you've not been to America, it's hard to fully understand the sense of scale. But this is a big old country, and being on national TV here is great. I mean, when we won the championship in 21, we were on the main ESPN channel, and I was getting texts from all sorts of people because they were in the bar, and I was sitting behind the bench. And so I kept appearing on the TV, and they're in a bar, and there I am on the big screen in the bar. Because in America, I think it's sort of the same in England. When I went back last time, I noticed more and more. Obviously, you've got pubs with the Sky Sports sort of games going, but I feel like now more restaurants have just screens on the wall. In America, that's all. You could be in a quite a fancy sort of Italian restaurant, and there'll be like screens everywhere because people. That's just how America does its entertainment.
Yeah.
And so being broadcast nationally is a game changer for our league, I think.
Yeah, fantastic. I think that's a massive step, and hopefully we'll be able to get it some way in the UK as well. For all the new UK fans, we'll be able to hopefully get a bit of coverage over here if we can try and wheedle our way into those sort of channels.
Yeah, I mean, look, the games are on their broadcast on YouTube, but we'll require you, Tom, to stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning for our home games. But every so often, when we play on the East Coast, that time difference changes a bit. But a committed owner of a club should be prepared to stay up till 3 in the morning for the big games.
Absolutely, or maybe get up early. I think it might be the better one for me. Yeah. But that's fantastic. I mean, that the USL is just coming on leaps and bounds. I've only been watching this, US football, soccer for about a year, maybe just over a year was really when I really started to get into it. And it's being shown a bit more over here. I watched MLS Cup final in a bar in Leeds, last season. So I was like, this is, it's getting shown over here. But the USL seems to have, in the year that I've watched it, really grown in prominence, and some of the clubs there actually sort of raising their own status. Is that something you've seen over there?
Yeah, I think it's an inevitable reality of the game just really gripping. This is a big country, and they're obsessed with NFL, and they're obsessed with basketball. Baseball, it's shrinking, but it's still the national pastime. I think if you put together, I think it's probably 4 factors. It's Ted Lasso, which has, I think it's watched more over here than back in England. It's absolutely, it's made football popular culture here.
Wow, fantastic.
The whole We Are Wrexham thing with Ryan Reynolds buying League Two's Wrexham.
Of course, yeah.
Lionel Messi obviously signing in the MLS, which brings people in who don't care about football.
Yeah.
And the fact that the World Cup's going to be here in 3 years' time, and all the associated games around it, the Confederations Cup and so on. I think you put all that together, and football's just growing here. And MLS is obviously a great product. Franchises are now worth $1 billion. You've got Messi playing, but it's a big enough country with enough fans now that there's space. So, like in England, there is enough football for 13 tiers, and everyone's fine with that. And we talk about this sometimes. In Orange County, it's 33 million people, and we're the only team playing at fully professional level. Now, sometimes we talk about, are we too near LA Galaxy? Are we too near LAFC? Are there enough fans to go around? These are teams who are 50 miles away.
Yeah, exactly.
In England, there's like seven stops on the bus between Premier League teams. So, I think there's enough football to go around, for want of a better way of phrasing it, that USL is growing. And you've got teams like Louisville in our league who don't have an MLS team nearby, who play in front of, they've got a 17,000 seat stadium. They're regularly pulling in, crowds of, 10,000, which starts being sort of championship level in England. Yeah. We're 5.5, and we've sold out the last 7 games. And we're looking, one of the parts of this fundraiser is about putting new stands in. And I think we could probably go up a couple of thousand. And then you're looking at like League One, League Two sort of crowds. But, we've got real players playing at a real level. So we have the Open Cup every year, which is the equivalent of the FA Cup.
Yeah.
And we got beaten by Portland 3-1, unfortunately, this year. But every year, teams in our league beat MLS teams. So, I think the bottom of the MLS is probably similar to the top of the USL in terms of standards. So if you look at our team, a third of the players have played MLS. We've got the former MLS Rookie of the Year, who also played at Dundee United, who plays for us. And then you've got another group who've played in Europe. So we've got a lad who was on the books at Chelsea. We've got people who've played in the top level in sort of Norway and Denmark. And then a third of our players are the young players we're bringing through. But if you came and watched the game, if you sort of take away the stands and just watch what's on the field, it would be no different to a regular season MLS game, I think, in terms of standard.
That's absolutely fascinating. It really is. I think it's got to be pulling in people, and like I say, you can see that it is, and you can see that it's not going to stop in that sense, because none of those factors that you've said are going to stop. Obviously, yeah, okay, after 2026, that World Cup there, but the impact of that World Cup, if it's anything like '94, is going to reverberate around the country for years and years to come.
Yeah, and I think, there was an argument that maybe the '94 World Cup was too soon in terms of where things were. Not everyone realised what was going on. But effectively, you look where football's got to now with the MLS, and it's beginning to challenge hockey as sort of the fourth of the major league sports.
Yeah.
If you look at the timing of this next World Cup, I think 3 more years of growth here. The fact the US national team have got a chance. They're not going to win it, I don't think, but they should have a decent run in the knockout stages.
Yeah.
But also, there's more people who know it's happening. There'll be more global superstars being recognised.
Yeah.
So, and no one does sporting events like the Americans. So if you think about, as an Englishman growing up, I used to stay up till 5 a.m. to watch the Super Bowl. It's such a spectacle.
Yeah.
It will be like Super Bowls every week. Like, they're going to make the fan fest and the way they do it here. It'll be what we would call ridiculously American, in a good way. And I just think,
yeah.
Americans love that when they see people they recognise walking down the street, when they realise what a big fanfare it is, when people from all over the world come in to watch it. It's at the right time. Having a World Cup now is the perfect time for it to kick on in America, which can only be good for effectively the second tier league, because there is enough growth for us all. And you look at the Championship in England. I mean, that's real football playing at real standard, just because it's not the top league. And I think that's where America's going to start to go. We're part of that.
Absolutely agree. I think the Championship's got its own charm over here, just like USL has as well. And if you're selling players to top European clubs, there isn't that much of a difference, like you say, between the bottom half. Maybe not the Philly Union, LAFC sort of top level ones with all the massive bank rolls, and into Miami, of course. But yeah, like I said, the majority maybe of MLS and the top half of USL, there's not much.
No, we played LAFC 2 years ago in the Open Cup, and they absolutely stuffed us. So they beat us 5-1. But it was a great day out for the fans.
But yeah, fantastic.
But the Portland game, we were 2-1 down, and we had a great chance to equalise. And we could have done it. But Monterey Bay in our league beat San Jose. Pittsburgh, they beat New England Revolution. So there was the Open Cup's a great. It is. I keep trying to explain to them, because you don't have it in other American sports. There's no.
You don't have that pyramid sort of effects to do it. Yeah.
You don't get like the New York Yankees playing the Rocket City Trash Pandas, in the first round of the Major League Baseball Cup, or whatever it would be called. But this is the chance to have that, and it's one of my favourite times of year. As obviously a Wimbledon fan. We've got great memories of the FA Cup, obviously winning it in '88, but as a team going back through the ranks when Akinfenwa scored against Liverpool, when we played them again when we were, I think, a League Two team. So I think, I love the Cup, and I love talking to people here about why we love the Cup. And it's a good showpiece for the USL every year.
That is absolute magic. I mean, it might be a bit of a controversial question now, but how would you feel if the authorities decided to make Pro Rel a thing and MLS be the top league, and you'd have obviously the opportunity to go up into that league, but it would change USL, wouldn't it? So
it's It's a great question, Tom. I think the answer is there is no way there will ever be promotion relegation in America involving the MLS.
Yes, I think that's the key, isn't it? Yeah.
The franchise for like San Diego, who was starting in 25, they paid $500 million for their franchise fee. No one's going to want to get relegated from a league when the buy-in is at that level. And so it just doesn't work. Where the real opportunity in this country is promotion relegation outside of the MLS.
Right.
So, in the USL, there's already a USL Championship and a USL League One. Now, there's no promotion relegation between them, but it's possible. They're both part of the same umbrella organization. There is a franchise fee in the USL, but it's not as high. It's not 500 million.
Yeah.
So you could see a version where there is promotion and relegation in the second and third tiers, and that starts being really interesting because it creates jeopardy. The TV companies would love that. You start making the argument to FIFA that because there's real promotion relegation, that Champions League spots should be available, the CONCACAF Champions League. And then the whole thing changes. So if I was a betting man, I would say there will be promotion relegation outside the MLS at some point in the next 5 to 10 years, just because it sort of feels inevitable. But I can never see it involving the MLS, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. There's too many vested interests and too many dollars at stake for that to be a real consideration. Unfortunately, how exciting as it would be. But yeah, what's the next steps for Orange County then? What are the things you hope to achieve in the next, let's say, decade?
Yeah, so look, I mean, it's a great question. The club's 10 years old. And so, there's clubs in England that are 115 years older than us, but we've managed to stay alive for 10 years and we've just signed a 10-year stadium deal. So, that's set in stone. I think it's probably three things. I think, on the field, it's more success. We won the championship this year. We were frustrated to be knocked out in the 115th minute of our playoff game. I think we want to keep competing. And we've got an excellent technical team who can bring really interesting players in. We're not just recruiting Americans in the way some of the other teams are. We're bringing people in from all over the world. We've got a former Scottish international, like I say, a lad who was at Chelsea. We've got really interesting scouting model. So I think there's more success on the field. I think in terms of the player transfer part, we've got 6 players currently who we've sold to European clubs. It might be more if our young lad has a good World Cup. I think there's going to be more of that. More players are going to want to come here because they know we can get them to Europe. The really interesting part, and you'll know obviously from your years probably playing Football Manager, is it's the second transfer. So you sell a player for a few 100,000, but you get 10 to 20% of their next one, and we sell a player to maybe a Feyenoord or maybe a Stade de Reims, and then they sell them to, a PSG or a Newcastle for 30 to 40 million, and we're getting 10 to 20% of that. That starts being a really interesting model for our club.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the money, it's our ability to then keep doing more of that. And then also I hope, we'll see, but it's not impossible that at the World Cup in 3 years, there could be a couple of former Orange County players who've been playing in Europe coming back to play in the World Cup, which would be incredible for a team like ours. And then I think the third part is the fans. So, we've got our local fans who come to the games. They're selling out. We'll be putting more seats in. There'll be more of them. We want to really improve that fan experience. But it's the hopefully thousands of owners who are also fans around the world sort of watching this club grow and following our results and wearing our merch and just being part of our journey. And I think we want to be able to give them something, and we're looking at all sorts of different ways of engaging them. But I really feel like that piece is so interesting. Having pockets of fans in Scotland because of Rangers, and in Feyenoord, in Holland because of Feyenoord, and then frankly around London because of the Wimbledon link. And it's just, I just think having international fans wanting to come and watch your club and see your story, and there are palm trees everywhere here. It is a slightly ridiculous sort of place here. And I think people can see that, when they see our players doing pre-season training on the beach, it evokes something aspirational, and we want to give more of that to people.
That is fantastic. And I can see that, that fans, for whatever reason, like I say, mine is just a spurious financial reason that I've decided to invest in this club. It's my club now, but you've already got my heart. I've already completely invested. I've already been on, look at the website. You've got some amazing merch there. There's some brilliant stuff. So I'm definitely going to be buying some now. If you can get UK distribution, then even better. So we don't have to pay $50 on the import fees. But that aside, it's going to grow and grow, I think. Like I say, this crowdfund could be, the first step, I think, in getting that international recognition, because there are so many links, like you said, around even just this country, but around the world as well. You're going to have fans in in the Netherlands as well, in Germany, in Denmark. It's going to be all sorts of opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, when an owner of your club contacts you saying, I'd like you to come on my channel, I can't say no.
Be careful, you might get 100 of these now.
I know. Yeah, I should be slightly careful about that, but no, it's been great, Tom. And I think in a way, obviously, you've got a sort of more public persona around it, but you're exactly the sort of person I hope to be able to reach, because we feel like we've got a story to tell. We feel like we're going on a journey, and we want real fans to be part of that. And they might be real fans of other teams, but they're real fans, and I think that's what we really want. So the fact that you discovered us is exactly what we're trying to achieve. And you're going to come on this journey with us, and you might not stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning every game.
I definitely will do it.
You will talk to people about it, and I think that's the thing is, we're not trying to become people's first club. There are people here who are season ticket holders, and we are their club. We did a thing this year. We gave out free tattoos if people wanted them, and people got like the mascot's face tattooed on their arms, the club logo on their legs. It was, for me, it was almost a test to see how much they cared, and they cared. It was a lovely thing. But we're not really. There's a lot of people will be their second team. There's people who are Galaxy or LAFC season ticket holders who come to our game. If you ask me, I mean, this is my job. But I've obviously grown to love the club over the years. But I'm a Wimbledon fan. But this is my second team. You're a Leeds fan, and this is your second team. And that for me is what it's about. It's having the little team somewhere else that sounds exotic and is interesting. And that's what we're trying to be. And it just so happens your little team happens to be a real player in the global transfer market, and playing for championships. Yeah,
and already that's stirring up feelings of me of pride. Like that's my thing. I'm proud of you. It's so strange how quickly this attachment can come. And I tell you, when I come out there, I'm having one of those tattoos as well. That's a guarantee.
Love it. Good. I'll make that happen for you, Tom.
Awesome, Dan. Where can people find your podcasts and anything else that you want to draw people's attention?
Yeah, I mean, a starting point is orangecountysc.com is our. You can find a bit more about the club. You can go onto Republic and search us if you want to become an owner. I've got 3 podcasts, but the fun ones are America, the Beautiful Game, where I talk about football and its relationship between America and Britain, and then United States of Dramerica, which is my whiskey podcast, where we've had everyone on, from obviously the owner of this team, which is how I got here, to the first Scotsman in space and the actor who played Chunk in the Goonies. So we've got a full range of interesting guests.
That's a mix. Brilliant. That's fantastic. I'll put links to those down below as well in the description, so people can find them. But Dad, thank you so much. I wish you every success for both you and for my new team. For the future, and just thank you so much for chatting. It's been a real laugh.
Of course, thank you, boss. Thank you, owner. It was great to come on. Cheers.
See you next time.